The 90s was one of the greatest times to be alive. We had Super Nintendo, Scrunchies, Bill Nye, and that's not even counting all the outstanding TV that was being produced either. Doug, Twin Peaks, and of course, Ed, and Eddie. Hell yeah, the most 90s TV show to ever exist. You'd run over to your 90s TV with your bowl of 90s cereal and pull out your taped episode of Ed, and Eddie, because they always aired the good episodes when I was at fucking school. Pop that sucker in and enjoy.
I think I got the wrong tape.
Disregarding overly hyped nostalgia, Danny Antonucci's Ed, and Eddie was an incredibly hilarious show about three friends scamming their neighbors out of their money in order to feed their addiction to jawbreakers. It's touched the hearts of many kids growing up and to this day still holds up very well in both animation and writing. With every great success, there comes the inevitable cash-ins in the form of t-shirts, knickknacks, and even video games. Good day, good evening, good morning, or good night, complete strangers. The name is Jradgex, and today I want to see if this is a genuine gaming tribute to a popular franchise, or an embarrassing attempt at manipulating the fandom. Well, first impressions are actually pretty good. We got a nice Ed, and Eddie title, I can hear the theme in the background. Even if it reminds me how goddamn short that theme really is, and I'm off! Whoa? Did they seriously animate every cutscene? That's actually really impressive. Oh, Jiminy Christmas, they made it in Flash.
I am cool like a cabbage, guys.
Oh. I guess to be fair, this kind of animation is way cost effective, especially when you're only a tiny staff working on a TV license game that no doubt has a budget of we'd assume you're gonna fail anyways. And this method of cutscene has been shown to work very effectively in even AAA titles, so maybe I shouldn't be so biased?
Holy fuck!
So the game is broken up into several different short stories, with the first one being about getting ice balls for snow cones. And instead of simply taking their own ice from their own fridge, the Eds decide to just steal it from everybody else. Eddie, you look like a fucking idiot! So one of the quirks of this game is that you get to play as all three of the Eds, each with their own abilities and fighting styles. And while some of their attacks make sense for their characters, there are others that just really... Is that a yo-yo? Yeah, swing that piece of wood around and shoot those water balloons. That's what Double D does, right? Oh, hey, Jimmy, is this your cooler? Oh, I see you're hanging up your dolls to dry, aren't you, Jimmy?
Stop it! Just go away!
Oh, are you inside trying to drown your sorrows away? Well, here's an army of squirrels to keep you company. Fuck you, you little 7-year-old. Whoa, now here's something familiar. Rolf's Ranch. And a very faithful recreation from the show, too. With all the sights, sounds, and stanks and stains we've grown to love. Be gone! There's you too! So the Eds want to use Rolf's machine to make snow cones, but Rolf doesn't let them because apparently they aren't man enough. Pardon me, miss, but have you seen Eddie lately? He looks like an 80-year-old scrotum.
Jeez!
So the Eds decide to try and prove their manhood by releasing the pigs from their tormented imprisonment, but Rolf doesn't really get their crusade, though, and asks them to return his pigs. But in exchange, he'll let them use the machine anyways, so they do and do.
My, intriguing.
Aren't you proud your entire life led up to this moment?
So remember how I was saying Rolf's Ranch was very well depicted? Well, take a look at this. The best adaptation of the cul-de-sac I think could ever be created. Yeah, it is a bit of a small hub world when you compare it to other bigger projects that came out at the time, but Christ! For an Ed, and Eddie fan, this was like a goddamn dream come true to walk around in the actual cul-de-sac. Now I'm on the next level where the Eds are trying to get into a party. Kind of like that one episode. In fact, it's exactly like that one episode, except instead of exposing tight man panties to underage kids, the plan is to travel through crocodile-infested sewers. I don't even care if they bite my leg off, I just need to get to that party, okay? At some point, you meet up with Johnny and Plank, and then the Kanksters just show up for some reason. I don't fucking know, right? It's a gosh dang sewer level. Out of all the stuff I've put on my list of boring things in video games, sewer levels are number fucking 1. So you finally make it to the party, and... So the next level starts out with the Eds bumping into Rolf and Victor sucking on jawbreakers. And after a brief comment of there being free jawbreakers at the candy store, the Eds rush off to go get them before the store closes. Kinda like... You know, I didn't really notice it until now, but each Ed has their own introduction to how they get their special moves. Double D devises that they use the Tower of Eddie to get over a narrow walkway, Eddie yells at Double D to use his water balloons, and Ed... walks into shit, but everything seemed to have a concise origin, which is really nice to see in such a small TV licensed game. So after some faffing about, the Eds finally make it to the candy store, but...
What's happening to my face?
Well, with Eddie's face all jacked up, the Eds try and make it back to Eddie's house without being seen. And for this next part, I actually want to challenge my audience a little bit here. What do you think Eddie uses in order to sneak past the kids? What do you think the Eds could possibly use in order to stay out of sight? What could the developers possibly think of as the most effective way of creating a stealth level? Actually, after giving it a second look, I think that this whole box thing is really just more of a reference to the Metal Gear Solid series rather than a ripoff, because you also hide in a bush the exact same way, and there are a lot more sections without the box than with it. Like this part, where we hide from Johnny behind a telephone pole while Johnny... slowly slips into the darkness.
Losers.
Dork? Dork? Dork! So after that little adventure, the Eds meet up with Rolf yet again, but this time in his Urban Ranger's uniform. Eddie, impressed with Rolf's newly earned badge, decides to take on a series of challenges in order to earn one of his own. Kinda like... Oh my god, I just started this level and I already love it. The way each character's abilities blend with each obstacle, it just feels so right. This is such a weird feeling too, and not to sound pretentious, but I wasn't expecting to get such a drive from such a lower class game, but... well, shit, there it is. Go rot in a fucking hole, you 7-year-old piece of shit. So while running around in this overzealous bar mitzvah to prove Eddie's manhood, I came across what I consider the hardest goddamn section in the entire game. The whole idea is to turn on this big machine by plugging in 4 power cells into 4 of the machine's sockets. But what kills me about this? What really kills me is the fact that they had to add the color orange and red. So I walk up to a socket thinking that I'm going to put a red cell into a red outlet, but it turns out to be orange. I drop the cell and BAM! It fizzles out. Now I need to walk back, cross the narrow path as the Tower of Eddie, fall down, go back, pick up the power cell, drop it on the wrong socket, read the commandments, eat the latkes, do the chair dance. So once you finally conquer that Gehenna, you then are challenged to a fight against Victor. I'm sorry, Rolf. But Victor fell into the river. He's dead now. We both have blood on our hands, Rolf. We both have blood on our hands, Rolf. It's time for a fucking race, motherfuckers! So in the next recreation of a pre-existing episode, Jimmy is frantic over the sight of his stuffed animal, Mr. Yum Yum, sitting in the windowsill of the local haunted house. And so the Eds need to get Jimmy's doll back to help him forget about the fact that his hair is really just a growth on his head. But once they get inside, they realize that the Kanker sisters are back again to give the Eds more sexual harassment. They force the Eds to search the house to help them find presents, or else they'll saw Mr. Yum Yums in fucking half like something out of James Bond. Blah, 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 blah. It is all vastly unimportant when you finally come to the realization that this is a fucking haunted house level!
Pumpkins, witches, skeletons, and zombies that won't bite. Spiders, ghost ships, other things to keep me here all night.
I love you, baby.
It'd have to be some kind of magic to just walk through a house and feel so in love. And it's not because of the gameplay either. Like, most of these puzzles actually just involve a lot of back and forth. But the environment just... I love it so much. But getting back on track, you get the first item for Lee, which is a ship in a bottle. Are you alright, Lee? Well, maybe she's fine. Wait, Marie too? What else was in that bottle besides a ship? Clearly Danny and Tanucci were trying to send us a message. A signal to the world that teenage alcoholism is very real. And if we don't act now, this is the face of America. But he was also trying to show that it's not all gloom, doom, and Woodrow Wilson. Clearly, he was trying to show that there's also a silver lining. I mean, take May, for example. Look at her. She decided to pick up a book and actually apply herself. Look how happy she is. She's dancing. While the two sisters try to solve their problems at the bottom of a bottle. Danny Antonucci is the voice that cries through the silence. Wake up, America!
Fuck America.
Also, despite our efforts, Mr. Yum Yum's got sawn in half anyways. Anyways! Now I'm on to what I believe to be the last level in the game. This last one doesn't really have anything to do with pre-existing Ed and Nettie episodes, because it starts out with the Eds already getting job breakers. But what would a good story be without conflict? So the job breakers are stolen and the Eds have to figure out where they went. Right away, I must say, I like how this level looks. Which is strange, because this is basically on par with a fucking junkyard, but there's just something about it that's so different from the last levels. It has a real sense like we're moving on to a final stage. It feels so removed from the rest of the game, so unfamiliar, that it makes the area seem so hostile in its isolation. What am I talking about? This game was developed by the same guys who made Dante's Inferno, Plankton's Robotic Revenge, Naughty Bear, Smurf Racers, The Grinch, and get on the mic!
Bring me along!
So the Eds need to find the job breakers by following a map, but wouldn't you know it, the map is ripped up into 3 pieces. Why did I even show up? But before we even do that, we need to get past this gate. It requires 3 keys to open, and I found 2 of them so far, but he seemed to have hit a bit of a snag. I can't find the damned 3rd key. I mean, there's only 2 sides of the map I can search right now, and I've found the first 2 on either side. So I don't really know why. It was behind this couch. It wasn't hidden by a puzzle, just lying under a couch. Oh, this just, woo,
really makes me happy.
So it turns out Jimmy has one of the pieces of the map and will only give it up if the Eds find him a job breaker. Of course, they aren't quick to give up a job breaker to share, even when they actually find an actual job breaker that's actually in the level. So instead, they just give him this.
Spiders!
Fuck you, Jimmy. Fuck you.
So the Eds finally put the map together and find out it was the Kanker sisters all along. Oh. And after that comes the inevitable ending boss fight that's kind of bland, but if you want my advice, use Batter Ed. In fact, just use Batter Ed for, like, everything, because it makes you invincible the whole time. It's only stopped by walls and has no time limit or energy power to it, and I'm not entirely sure why I didn't just bring it up until now. And then you beat the final boss, and that's the end of the game, really. I will admit that this game is pretty short, and with every level acting really episodically. I mean, you could play them in any order and it wouldn't make a difference. But with it being such a short experience, only having a couple genuine puzzles here and there, and having such a lackluster ending boss, does that mean that the game is necessarily bad? Yeah, it does. Oh! Fuck, no, it doesn't. It's definitely not an outstandingly memorable game, but for what it was trying to accomplish, it was a very nice tribute to the Ed, Edd n Eddy series. Voice acting is spot on with the inclusion of the entire original cast, combat works well enough to support the more platform-heavy sections, and most importantly, it opens the world of Ed, Edd n Eddy up to the players. Which is all I ever really ask of games like this. It honestly does stand strong next to the SpongeBob games and Samurai Jack game as being a proper tribute to the world of our favorite TV shows. But once again, games like these are really dependent on the fact that you're already a pre-existing fan of the series, so if you're thinking of getting into this, make sure that you have some inkling of appreciation for the original cartoon, or else you'll probably come out of it feeling more empty than anything else. But for now, good day, good evening, good morning, or good night, complete strangers. The name is Jradgex, and I'm an expert. You didn't really think I was going to end this review without talking about Edzilla and the Robot Rabble Ranch. Did you, motherfucker? No! Play the fucking clip.